welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the issue of decent work and how it can be promoted in the country, especially with the trend of COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges that it poses to an average worker in the country. We will be right back. The Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria has issued a 14-day strike notice to the federal government over the refusal of the international oil companies, IOCs, to allow the stevedoring companies access to their platform to commence operations. The 9 registered dock workers and stevedoring companies to operate in the IOC's platform as required by law. In a signed letter to the Minister of Transportation, Minister of Labour and Employment and other stakeholders, the union threatens to shut port operations nationwide from March 1, 2022, until the IOCs comply with the law. The letter signed by the President General and Secretary General of the Union, Adewale Adeyanju and Felix Akinboye, respectively, amongst others, said the need to embark on the indefinite strike is expedient to reinstate to the international oil companies the need to comply with the extant stevedoring regulations known as Government Marine Notice 106 of 2014. The Industrial Training Fund held its graduation ceremony in Lagos, Nigeria recently. According to the Director General of ITF, the occasion marks another milestone in efforts towards generating indigenous manpower for the Nigerian economy.
For the graduates, we've been able to give them basically 2 categories of training. The first one has to do with the technical skills, which that has been developed for about 6 months, with the attachment making 7 months. And we also give them entrepreneurship development component using the the ILO model of start your business. And the idea is for them to make sure that they can stand on their own, not necessarily looking for a job, because we are targeting people that can develop themselves and also find a way of developing others.
And like I said, it's a milestone. We're producing another set into the economy, releasing them into society to make impact, to use their skills positively, either as employed technical people or entrepreneurs that can start up their own businesses and excel. They can, have a better standard of living and contribute to the growth of the Nigerian economy.
At the event, a total of 68 technicians in 8 different trades were offered certification on instrumentation and process control, mechanical maintenance and machine, welding and metal fabrication, auto mechanic, electronic installation, and maintenance information and communication technology, refrigeration and air condition repair, and the art of culinary.
It's really a very stressful time with us here because we took series of practicals, hands-on practicals to achieve this today. And I'm telling all my graduates today, whatever trade you have gone through, that I wish you all the best in life. I pray you take the very good opportunity that was given to us to achieve the best. Go out there, make a change to the Nigerian economy, and try and see how you can be an employer of other people. Encourage them and give them the very best.
Well, I thank God that at the end I was able to finish everything, and I'm really, really happy that out of everybody, I was the person that I was the overall best out of everybody, because I know that everybody here had their own skills in different places, and it's not easy being the first among all of them. So I'm grateful to ITF NECA and for everybody, the staff and everything, those people in my section, those in different respective sections, for making this period habitable and enjoyable for everybody.
It was agreed at the event that youth acquisition of skills will contribute towards reducing unemployment in the country. Workplace or industrial accident is now becoming rampant in factories across Nigeria, especially in Lagos. Joseph Eteng Sam is one of many factory workers who have experienced workplace accident. Sam worked with Calic Plastic Company, a Chinese factory based in Lagos. For Sam, the accident which occurred at his workplace led to the amputation of his left arm, a situation he finds very discomforting.
That 5th of May, the accident happened on around 25 minutes after 10. The machine was giving me problem, which I've complained to them that this machine is giving me problem, that I've never operated the machine before, but I was forced to still operate the machine. So I was given the cutter, a very small cutter, that each time the machine is giving me problem, I should use the cutter and remove the product. So while I was trying to remove the product, that was when the machine jammed my hand.
He was employed as a machine operator on the 31st of May 2021 by Calic Plastic Company, located at Newi Close off Oba Akran Road in Ikeja, Lagos. Sam tells me he had barely spent a week with the company before the unfortunate incident occurred.
I was not given attention at that time, so the hand started decaying and the hand was smelling, so I was asked to do a surgery of below elbow. That is how they amputated my hand. And I was told that the only way for me to survive is for them to amputate my hand. So that is the reason why they amputated the hand like this.
His brother, who has been assisting him to carry out his daily activities, John Sam, spoke about his welfare and complained that no prosthesis or compensation was given to Sam.
So the director of the company, at first he said we are not going to give him anything, that because they were the one who took charge of the hospital bills, that they are not going to give him anything at all. We are not here to beg you for money. We are just asking about how we are going to sort out his future. Because as he is, he's still very young. And right now that with one hand, he can't do anything at all. He can't even wash his clothes like he said earlier. He can't do anything at all. He said what happened to him was just on the fingers around here, that it wasn't, they didn't ask him, the machine did not cut off the hand completely, that the accident happened only around the palm. How would he said my brother have to go and ask the doctors to cut off his hand so that he will use that for money. To use that after they cut off his hand, he will come back to the company and demand for compensation and all of that. According to what he told me, because I'm not working there with him, he said if you do overtime, like working on Sundays and all of that, you end about 30-something thousand. But if you are not on normal, their normal salary is 26,000. That is what he told me. And he said, and since where the incident happened, it was only once they paid him.
Though the avoidable accident happened on the 5th of June 2021, it was observed that he never received any form of training to become a machine operator. During my interaction with him, he explained that he needed to work at the factory so that he can set up a shop to repair phones and return to school.
In the first place, I went to the factory to work in order for me to, I went to look for my greener passion so that I'll be able to establish myself and go to school, because my parents did not have the money to send me to school. So that was the reason why I have to go to the company and work, so that I'll be able to have the money, then open my shop, then I can go to school. Even though it's part-time, I will be doing.
I and my team took time out to visit Calic Plastic Company in Lagos. At that time, Tochukwu Anyoka, the manager of the company, could not give much detail and is yet to provide more information on the development.
5954. Hello, good morning, sir. Okay, it's fine. Yes, my name is Sharon Ijason. I work with TVC News. And apparently a young guy accosted me and shared the story that he had an accident at your company and he had not received any maybe compensation or prosthesis.
When did he report this? Because as for now, we already settled with him, with the Labour Ministry. And I don't know if still going ahead talking about this.
So
Do you
what?
understand what I said?
You said you have an agreement with the Labour Ministry.
Yes, we already settled with him. We had agreements with them already, with the Labour Congress and also the family and the Labour Ministry, the controller himself.
So his family was represented in that meeting in Abuja?
No, we had it in Lagos at the controller office in Lagos. Abuja represented here.
Okay, what date was that?
We had about 2 times meeting, and we're still also going to have the final one. So I don't know which one is they still reporting us? I don't know.
Can you be precise about the date that you spoke to him last, about the that there was a meeting?
You know, as I'm talking to you and I'm driving, so let me know how the issue with these people.
With Nigerians' youth unemployment rate projected to over around 53% in 2022 and 51% in 2023, civil society groups and some Nigerians are concerned about hope for an average Nigerian youth as Joseph Ethang Sam and family continue to demand for compensation.
On the Profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Emmanuel Ugboaja. He spoke about the several challenges workers are faced with concerns about the need to promote decent work, the need for our laws to be strengthened, and the need for safety guidelines to be adhered to in various companies across the country. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
The labour circle seems to be an interesting one recently. There's been lots of issues and there's been up and down, but at the end of the day, of course, there are lots of expectations, although some of the expectations might have not been met, but of course, there are some improvements. So right now, what I would like you to talk about is the issue of casualization of workers in Nigeria. I know you're a legal practitioner also too. From the legal point of view, would you say we have friendly laws that protect workers when it comes to these particular trends that we're faced with in the country?
Our laws can be made better, but even within the provisions we have currently, they are still being observed in the breach. Clearly, our laws are not casualization friendly, to be honest. Under the guise of we don't need workers on a permanent basis, whatever that means. You then keep a worker for 10 years. You keep a worker for a decade doing the same job. Day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, 10 to 15 years. And then suddenly you say he's too old now. You lay him off with nothing. And you look for fresh graduates again that you put through the same stress. So people then sit back and say our laws are porous. No, because they are hiding, they are breaching our law. Our law says clearly, once you have somebody employed, within 3 months you should have particulars of his employment, and that sometimes is equated to the regularization of the employment and all his conditions and stuff. And clearly that envisages a permanent nature of the employment. So the trend of casualization, they've brought all manner of variants to it. You have the variant where people will tell you is outsourcing, and you then wonder whether outsourcing is a crime. It's not a crime, but it's the variant we practice. If, for instance, in your establishment, and you decide to outsource the technical crew, or you want to outsource your newscasters, it means you are outsourcing them to an organization that specializes in newscasting. So you just want to have cameras, have technical people. Then for newscasting, there will be an organization that does newscasting. It means that organization will have those employees on a permanent level. So you don't then keep working in the organization for 15 years and you say, no, they are not my staff. They are not the staff of an organization that has that as its core. They are also then not your staff. So who are they? Are they slaves? So that is the challenge we have. So it's not really in our laws, it's in the refusal of those that should watch over the defaulting in the laws to have the things corrected. And that could have arisen maybe from his side or from conversations we've had, maybe lack of manpower to continuously follow up on the number of workplaces we have.
Sounds good. Looking at the issue of workplace safety, occupational hazard, it seems to be something that happens from time to time, even though many people pray that it doesn't occur. Recently, there was a boy that one of his arm was cut off during while trying to earn his livelihood at a factory in Lagos, and I'm aware that you're aware of that situation. So far, he says there's not been any effort for the company to pay him off, and that there's no effort towards ensuring that he gets the prosthesis. It's just a young boy in his early 20s. How would you react to this?
Clearly, like you noted, we're now involved. We're helping to drive the process of getting the young Nigerian reasonably catered for, reasonably compensated. Part of the challenge we have, and is what we keep pushing out there, and that's why we're happy for platforms like yours to get people to understand that it is your right to belong to a union. And the reason is simple. You are better off as a member of a protective family than being out there on your own. Because we say as a family, as a unionized worker, the strength you don't have as an individual to confront big business, confront management. So the case of the young guy, his work was not, his workplace wasn't unionized. So ordinarily he should be protected naturally by government, because we advocate, but the regulatory capacity, the enforcement capacity is with government. So ordinarily government should have regular factory inspectors, have safety inspectors that go around to make sure that the workplaces are in tip-top shape. But you and I know that where you don't have whistleblowers, where you don't have information, it's also difficult to really monitor this. So we've had a couple of meetings on the issue with the Ministry of Labour intervening in their Lagos office, and clearly we're hoping that a more reasonable, you can never compensate for what happened to the young man. There is nothing that can be enough compensation. A young Nigerian less than 25 years losing an arm at that tender age. He has 50 years of basic life ahead on a disability status. The trauma is something you can't imagine. The physical challenge is something you can't imagine. And in an environment where it's practically survival of the fittest, you fend for yourself, you can imagine what lies ahead for him. So the least the organization will do would be to provide a soft landing for him to begin to face this new reality with some human face, and that is what we are pursuing.
So this brings us to the issue of unionization. We know that it's a big challenge. We have so many companies that exist that do not want workers to be unionized. How much advocacy has been done by the Nigerian Labour Congress towards ensuring that people understand the need for workers' representation at all levels?
We're doing the bit we can. Sometimes it's like when it's too late. Because take for instance, there was a time when the financial sector was being in quote, revolutionized. So we had those that you call the old generation banks, where they had unions and things were stable. And suddenly you had the, in quote, flamboyant brand of financial institutions who then came talking down on workplace democracy and insisting they didn't want unions. And because people felt they were getting better pay, suddenly 2,000 people get to work and they can access their desktop. And you look at your friend where it's, oh boy, I cannot open my system. He said, me too, I know if you open. And then somebody else says, my own is opening. And he said, try again. And they try, and then you will hear contact headquarters. How would the guy in a normal hair branch or where a branch contact headquarters? And before you know it, calls are going on, 2,000 workers would have been laid off just by resuming work in the morning. No prior discussion, nothing. The law had never contemplated such a scenario. The law provides for discussion between workers' representatives, the union, and management if you were to declare redundancy, if you were to have such a layoff. But because people weren't represented, management ran rough shoulders over people. So clearly, we've had that challenge of balancing the heavy resource of capital that goes pushing wealth and the imaginary comfort at people at the detriment of their rights and privileges that they should be enjoying. But we'll keep pushing because truth is constant. You are better off in the union than as an individual worker in the world of work. There are things you cannot get as an individual. It is difficult for you to go bargaining with management as an individual, while the union can always set up standards for collective bargaining conversation and collective bargaining agreements. Ultimately, this you find difficult to do as an individual.
So finally, talking about industrialization in Nigeria, in Africa, looking at the situation we find ourselves in as a country, whereby unemployment is the order of the day, when the average youth is unemployed, where more jobs are not being created and the future seems bleak. What would be your recommendation when it comes to addressing this issue? Because even those that are captured in the employment scheme, you realize that it's still not a decent work. They are still underemployed. So an average youth is either unemployed or underemployed. It takes us back to our economy. So the question will be, as a labor leader, with your experience, what do you think needs to be done in terms of positioning to ensure that we have a robust economy, and perhaps maybe we would have a workforce that would get what they deserve in terms of wage?
The truth is, if we continue to focus on an economy or a system that promotes and celebrates lack of productivity, then it becomes difficult to get out of the logjam we're in. You can't have people flaunting wealth without work. So you begin to hear all manner of stories about financial whiz kids that you give 10 naira and in 3 weeks they turn it to 300 naira for you. That can be what we'll encourage. We must have a country that is driven on production. What do we do from the first layer of our resource, the natural state? How do we take it to the next value chain? How do we move from that value chain to the next one? How do we then move from that one to the next one? You can't talk about the internet capability outside production. You must be able to know how you will use your data and internet skills to market products, and not just to market rumors and the fake and real news. No. So rather than put all energy on marketing skits and stuff that just push fake news and no productivity, you have to show that farming pays, agriculture pays. And then people will look for how do we then use technology to sell eggs that are being manufactured in excess quantity in Zamfara or Niger.
But do you think we have a friendly policy to accommodate all of this at the state level and at the federal government level?
That's what needs to be done, and that is the direction the NLC is going now. We had had too long a period of discussing at the top without a foundation. We keep reacting to calamities on the roof when there's even no foundation. We have realized that if we continue to listen to their narrative, we'll continue to go deeper into problem. So for us, on the 3rd of March, we are moving in a new direction, a more setting-footed direction, to take our destiny in our hands. Our interest is to interrogate the political landscape so that we can ask genuine questions. If people who are coming into governance don't have the answers, then we'll know that we'll have to step up to provide the answers. We don't want to go into 2023 wondering whether the government understands ASU or not. We want to know in advance whether we'll have a government that understands ASU, and if you don't, then we know you're not the government for Nigeria. We want to go into 2023 knowing that whoever is coming understands that Nigerians don't want to pay more for fuel.
Thank you very much.
So clearly that's the direction we're headed.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.